Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mutiara Safira, ID number A12121062. I want to finish my mid project for sociolinguistic course. The assignment is find out phenomenon social dialect and what are the influencing factor. And number 2 is regional dialect between region. Example, region dialect of your language, either Indonesian or mother tongue. Explain why it is regional dialect. And number 3 is code choosing between Indonesian or other. Identify why you say code switching and what are the types. And number 4 is code mixing. Find phenomenon analysis and what the type of code mixing. And the last thing is language attitude. Please find an example, then whether it is positive or negative. Number 1 is social dialect. An example of social dialect occurring on campus in the context of English. It is on campus there exists a variation of language reflected in the use of English by students from diverse social and cultural backgrounds. A concrete example of social dialect on campus, it is the difference in accent or intonation, as well as the choice of words or phrases used in everyday interaction. Social influences of social dialect on campus for accent and or intonation. Students from different regions or diverse cultural backgrounds have different accent or intonation when speaking English. An example in my area is the difference in accent or intonation between students from outside Palu and those from within Palu. Differences start from the way they speak. This usually occurs among students who still strongly identify with their social background. These differences reflect the social and cultural variation among students on campus. Number 2 is regional dialect. A regional dialect is a form of language that is unique to a region or geographical area. Here, because I come from the Bugis tribe, so I will explain the regional dialect that occur in the Bugis tribe, which is my mother tongue. Example of regional dialect in the vocabulary of Bugis Bone and Bugis Sinjai. The word malam in Bone say weni and Sinjai say heni. The word keturunan in Bone say wija and Sinjai say hija. The word dibawa in Bone say diawa and Sinjai say diaha. And the last word is rambut. In Bone is wilwa and Sinjai is hilwa. Why it is a regional dialect? In addition, the rhythm and accent are slightly different. This is because the differences in pronunciation and accent between the Bugis Bone and Bugis Sinjai tribes can be considered regional dialect feature. This dialect include differences in the pronunciation of certain words, sentence structure, and intonation that are unique to each region or subgroup of Bugis society. So, in general, these differences can be classified as a part of regional dialect of the Bugis language. Next, it is code switching. Code switching is alternating between two language or language varieties in a single conversation, across sentence or class boundaries. Example in the sentence, it is, hari ini sangat cerah ya, it is a beautiful day. In the example sentence, there is code switching from Indonesia to English between different sentences. The first sentence, hari ini sangat cerah, was spoken in Indonesia. Then, in the next sentence, the speaker switched to using English, it is a beautiful day. The characteristic code switching, the main characteristic of code switching in the movement between one language or dialect to another language that occur between sentences or between conversation, not in one whole sentence as in the case of the code mixing. What the type of this code switching? in the sentence. Based on the example sentence, it is hari ini sangat cerah ya. It is a beautiful day. The type of code switching that occurs is intersential switching. Why? Because intersential code switching occurs when speakers switch from one language to another between sentences. Next, about code mixing. Code mixing is the change from one language to another within the same utterance or within the same spoken or written text. In the code mixing example, I use the sentence, BTW, kita harus pergi. Why it is code mixing? This fall under code mixing. This sentence fall under the type of code mixing because it involves the incorporation of an English word, BTW. BTW means by the way, in a sentence that is mostly written in Indonesia. Code mixing occurs when a speaker uses elements from two or more language or dialect in a single sentence or conversation. The type of code mixing used is intersential mixing because elements from different language or dialect are used in the same sentence. Language attitude. One phenomenon of language attitude in Indonesia is the perception of Javanese language used in formal and informal settings. Example, in formal settings such as government office or corporate environment, there might be a positive language attitude toward using standard Indonesia. It is a bahasa Indonesia as the primary language of communication. This is because standard Indonesia is seen as the national language and a symbol of unity among Indonesian diverse ethnic and linguistic groups. However, in informal settings such as social gathering or casual conversation, there might be a positive language attitude toward using Javanese, especially among Javanese-speaking communities. Javanese is often viewed as a language of warmth, intimacy, and cultural identity, fostering a sense of belonging and camaraderie among speakers. So whether the perception of language use is positive or negative depends on the context and individual's attitude toward the language varieties involved. This example highlights how language attitude can be influenced by factors such as context, societal norm, and cultural identity, shaping individuals' perception and behavior toward different language varieties. That's all from my explanation. I apologize if there are any mistake with my pronunciation or my explanation. Thank you very much and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.